You're listening to LCC Alumni Stories, a show dedicated to highlighting the amazing alumni of Lansing Community College. I'm Steve Robinson, president of LCC, and on each episode, I have the awesome privilege of getting to know one of our many inspiring alums and hearing about their experiences at and since leaving LCC. The LCC alumni community is expansive and far-reaching. They're an incredibly diverse group of people, representative of all walks of life, working in hundreds of industries across the country. LCC Alumni Stories shines a bright light on alumni who make a positive contribution to their community and showcases those who have overcome obstacles and barriers to achieve academic and personal success. These are their dynamic stories. My guest today is Todd Gute, who began at LCC in 1981 studying architectural technology before shifting gears to focus on transfer courses. That paid off because he successfully transferred to Lawrence Tech University in 1983. Todd has a great LCC story, and it's far from over. I'm really excited to hear about it. So welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
Oh, it's great to have you here. You know, one of the things that stuck out to me about your story is that you chose LCC over a four-year institution. Tell me about that choice.
Well, in 1981, I graduated from Owasso High School, a community not far from here.
Right. Great community.
I came from a family that I love my parents, and they were great parents, but neither of them had gone to college.
Okay.
And there was not a lot of infrastructure at home talking to me about how to really prepare for college. We expected to go to college. I expected to go to college, but I really wasn't as prepared. I also, probably looking back, was not as mature as I should have been.
Okay.
Had I gone to a four-year college, a residence college, I would have washed out.
Interesting. So, I mean, in our industry, we talk about students who are the first in their family to go to college as first-generation college students. So that's you. Why do you think you would have washed out if you went right to a residence college?
I was not prepared. I was prepared academically.
Okay.
But in terms of really being on your own, I probably would have been one of a college president's worst nightmare, because I would have been a student that lived in their dorm room and went out and went to class, and I was incredibly shy, incredibly introverted, and not a lot of confidence. And I would have struggled in a community like that.
Well, it's interesting to me. I actually was fairly shy when I started college myself. So when you chose LCC, and I know Owasso pretty well, it's close, but it's not super close, right? So how did we get on your radar as when you graduated from high school in Owasso?
Well, I was familiar with the college and the campus, and it was comfortable. You know, I was comfortable. I did a visit to LCC. I really didn't visit, larger institutions because I didn't have the confidence that I would have. But LCC, the facilities were, to me, incredible, and I think they still are.
They are. I agree.
And everything was kind of new. I intended to get a 2-year degree, an associate's degree in architecture, and my dream was to someday work for an architect and get a job for working with an architect, and I knew I needed some education for that. And when I came and visited LCC, this is really going to date me, but they had a computer-aided design class, and they had 2 machines that in that class you could get some lab time and draw on that computer.
That is so cool, because I remember when computers were that new. Yeah, actually, my late mother was the first person that anybody knew in our community to get a computer. And you're right, getting time on a computer, sometimes took a long. Now this was architectural software, right?
It was.
Tell me what drew you to these big machines that now our phones can probably do what that machine did. But what was it that attracted you and wanted you to get some time logged on those machines?
The fact that we were being told that this was the direction the world was going. This was way out in front of architects really engaging. These were expensive machines. They
I'll
were
bet.
big machines. We had, LCC had 2 of them, and and Mr. Perkins, who was the director of the architectural
Of the
technology
program at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
His plan was to prepare students so that when we went to an architectural firm and they're heading towards this, we're already trained on it.
That's so cool.
And so that was really preparing us. Now, I never actually took a CAD class.
Oh, but you got.
I
But
was
did you
here.
get some time on the machines here?
I did not.
Oh.
I did not.
Okay.
I was a good draftsman.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I had taken 2 years of drafting, and then my senior year, I worked as a draftsman for an engineering company locally in Owasso.
Really?
So I had some pretty good skills of drafting. So when I came to LCC, I took some drafting classes, and Mr. Perkins and a few of the other teachers identified that, you really need to be thinking bigger than a 2-year degree.
Okay.
And that shifted me from taking architectural technology classes to thinking 4-year. And so I stopped taking architecture classes here at LCC and took my general education classes, which again, I probably would not have survived in a 4-year institution. Now, when I graduated from Owasso, I had a good friend that we had taken all of our math classes together through high school and our college preparatory math classes. And he was taking calculus at MSU. I took calculus here at LCC, and I did and we were both pretty much equal academically, but I did so much better at LCC because I had 18, 20 people in a class, and that professor, if I didn't understand something, I could go up afterwards, where my friend Jeff sat in an auditorium with 300 other kids, and he didn't get time. He got time with the assistants, but he did much worse in that very same calculus class. And if I remember right, I think we even had the same professor.
No kidding.
Yeah, he taught at MSU, and he was a relatively new professor at MSU, and so he taught a class at LCC just to get that interaction with students because he didn't get that at MSU.
Todd, I love this story because I tell it in the abstract a lot. And in fact, many elements of the story you just told are a big, important part of the value proposition for community colleges. We often share faculty with the research universities that we are in the same community with, but the class size and the time is really important. So that's what an interesting story that your kind of small class size, high touch area resulted in success for you.
Now, I want to complete the answer that you asked of what appealed to LCC.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
And there's a significant thing is that it was also convenient. A group of us, every trimester, we would all sort out who's driving, who's going on what days, and we would all carpool from Owasso. So there was always a various group of us. But a really important thing was that it was really inexpensive.
Yeah. It's community college is super affordable.
Financially, I didn't come from a family that would have been able to support me, and I would have had some pretty significant at the time. They would be very insignificant today, but I would have had student loans, and that was a big risk for me to think about taking out a loan on my success of a college career that I wasn't that confident in. So I continued to work as a draftsman for that engineering company. I made minimum wage, which was at the time $3.35.
I remember that wage. I also remember the trimesters. I mean, when I taught here, we were on 10-week terms. So, yeah, we're very similar vintage. If that, I worked for $3.35. So you did that as a draftsman. So you had work-related experience coming out of high school.
I did, and of course I want to call them professors, but I don't know the distinction. But anyway, the people who were teaching my classes,
they were professors,
were also people working in the industry,
right? Which
was incredibly helpful. Again, to hear them say things like, "You need to go on," you need to be doing this, and they would, they really gave me, and Mr. Perkins in particular, really gave me a lot of great, I want to say fatherly-like advice. because my own parents weren't able to give me that college advice.
Right.
And so a number of the teachers really, saw that and saw that I could go on and really gave me the confidence and were a part of helping me come out of my shell.
I love that story. And, that's one of our most important missions at a community college. And to hear you say it and have had success in this career. So you then transfer to Lawrence Tech, which is a prominent architecture program. Tell me about it. I mean, did you feel set up to do well there because of your experience at LCC?
Absolutely. One of the things that I was really pleased with is that I was able to pick off all of my writing classes. I had calc and I had sociology and psychology and I had economics and all of those general ed classes. Mm-hmm. I got them at the really great rate, cost of college here at LCC. Mm-hmm. So when I transferred to what at the time was Lawrence Institute of Technology, I have 2 degrees from the same institution but different names because I was in the transition from Lawrence Institute of Technology to Lawrence Tech University. So your undergrad was the
LIT,
yep.
And then you must have gotten a master's degree then.
I have a professional degree.
Yeah,
and they were converting to the master's degree at the very time I was taking the graduate classes. I was supposed to get a master's degree, and there was actually a mistake made by the dean for accreditation.
Oops.
And it worked out for me. Me and a friend of mine, Roman, we had taken all the right classes and hadn't taken any of the additional classes for the master's program. So we graduated a year earlier than we expected.
Well, I'll tell you what, you could do a little regression analysis about the time value of that year vis-a-vis the master's degree. And it sounds like it hasn't held you back. Now, what are you doing professionally right now, and how are you applying all that academic training?
I am president of Mayotte Group Architects.
Right.
A firm right here in Lansing. I know you're the 7th president.
I am the 7th president
of Lansing Community College,
correct.
Which is pretty cool.
Lucky number 7.
Mayotte Group Architects was founded in 1958.
Wow.
I am its 3rd president.
So long tenure for your predecessors.
Yeah, I've been at this for a little over 12 years.
So given the time frame of your firm, and I didn't look to check, but we must have over the years used your firm here at the college.
You're sitting in it right now.
Oh, great. So for our listeners, we're in the Michigan room in the Gannon building.
Yeah, we did the Gannon building, the recent renovations of the Michigan room. We don't get credit for it. But we did Gannon building, Arts and Science building, the Dart Auditorium. Most recently, we did the clock tower, and
fantastic!
The thing that nobody has really seen yet is Upward Bound. Matt McGaughy, you may have met Matt.
Yes.
In our office, he's the superstar, by the way. I am not.
Oh, it sounds like the humble CEO. Here we go.
Matt did the Upward Bound sculpture.
It's gorgeous. Again, for our listeners, if you haven't been on campus recently because of COVID, we have a gorgeous metal sculpture that lights up at night called Upward Bound, a donation from the Abood family, and great work by your firm to. Now, did you your firm did the fabricating and everything?
We only design.
You design, okay.
But Matt worked with the company that fabricated it. So he was over there when they were fabricating and kind of looking things over.
I saw a video of it being made, and of course, I live on campus, so it's like the coolest lawn ornament anybody could ever have. It's really an awesome sculpture. So we've got a long partnership with your firm then here at the college, and so tell me how that connection has, informed maybe your company's mission and what you do, in your role as president of the firm.
We have a series of great clients, LCC being one of them. Cooley Law School, right. Auto Owners Insurance, Accident Fund, just a whole host of just great clients that have really influenced all of us in terms of the expectation of quality. All of the companies that I've listed for, you all expect to own your buildings for 50 or more years.
Right.
That has greatly influenced how we think about our built environment. And the contractors around understand that and respect that.
They probably like working on projects that you've designed.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I would go that far. We all, but yeah, we usually have a very great time, and really one of the fun things that occurs on a construction site is getting to know the trades and the contractors, and we work with a lot of regular ones, but a lot of them through trades. Here at LCC got their start here at LCC.
That's true.
And
That's true.
There's a certain, kind of a wink-worthy camaraderie when, we're sitting in a meeting and we're around some, really good people, and we discover that a few of us started out at LCC, and, there's that just kind of smile and nod, like, yeah.
It's a good group to be associated with. And, so I spent a lot of time at community colleges all over the country. And one of the things that I find interesting, particularly with what you do for a living and what your firm has done for us for all these years, is LCC is kind of exceptional in the sense that that place is really important. These, you mentioned Upward Bound, you mentioned the Granger Clock Tower, you mentioned these iconic buildings we have. The built environment or the placemaking of our college campus is super important, and it seems like your firm has been integrally involved in that. Yeah.
And what is really great to see is while the facilities when I went here way back in the 80s were great. In fact, there used to be a building here called Old Central.
Right, I know about it.
And that was I don't think I had any classes in Old Central, but I would go over there because I liked their library to study, and it was an old gymnasium. You could go up on the balcony and kind of study.
Oh, that's cool. I've heard great stories about Old Central.
Yeah, you just associate with certain spaces, and there's a lot of diversity in the spaces here. But this is not a snapshot in time. This campus is continuing to improve and make environments for students. To walk through Arts and Sciences building today, I don't recognize it from my days.
I don't either. I taught there in the 90s, and I don't recognize it.
It is such a great tool for students, though.
So that strikes, what you just said seems like such an architect thing to say. And so let me repeat it to you, because what I heard you say is, and I've been there, there are actually community colleges in Michigan where they were all built like in 1 year. They built out the whole thing, and it has a look of one particular era of design and architecture. One of the hallmarks of our spaces, or what you called our built environment, is that there are these sort of points on the timeline. Arts and Sciences was built in '68, and it has that brutalism facade, but it's been pulled into the modern era with a lot of other great design. What other things, what other reflections do you have about LCC from the perspective of an architect?
The plaza.
Talk to me about the plaza.
Really significant. And it was significant to me as a student. I'm in downtown Lansing. I am from Owasso, Michigan, and Owasso is a great town, but it's a small town. There's only just a few blocks of downtown. You can easily almost kind of see it standing anywhere.
Yeah.
And downtown Lansing was a much bigger city, and for an introverted, shy kid, this was a little, this was pushing my envelope. I'll explain to you. I was introverted, that when I was being outgoing in a party, that means I stared at someone else's shoes.
That's a great line.
But that plaza, I could walk downtown Lansing, and I really was not a part of downtown Lansing when I'm between the Arts and Sciences building and the Gannon building and things. But I could venture out over to what was then, the bookstore, Gibson's bookstore, and that crossed the street, and I got into downtown Lansing a little bit, and I got comfortable with that. And then I started to park across the river because it was free parking over there.
Right.
So then I started crossing, and I expanded my, world, just a little step at a time. And it sounds kind of silly now, but for an introverted kid, and I grew up out in the country, so, I didn't even grow up in downtown Owasso. I was very comfortable being out in the middle of openness.
Now, I love that story. So if I heard you right, the plaza and our campus were sort of a safe home base for you, that you could safely then venture out a little farther, down Washington Street, over across the river. That's fantastic.
And I love Lansing now. We're very much a part of the urban fabric.
Yes.
And I volunteer. I can't imagine. I really have this kind of dream life. Because I'm involved in various organizations here in Lansing and help the community of Lansing. And, I couldn't imagine myself, back in 1981.
That just makes me feel really happy to know that our college helped you along that line and in the way that we designed it. When you talk about your firm starting in 58, of course, we're founded in 1957. And it's really great to hear that story. I do have a question for you. So growing up in rural, close to Owasso, why architecture? What was it that appealed to you about architecture? Because you had a drafting class in high school. This was something you enjoyed as a young person.
Sure. My father was a builder.
Okay.
And he was a really good builder. The company that he worked with was just 3 guys.
Wow.
And they built for like 40 years together.
Wow.
And they built at a time when you didn't have skill saws on a job site. So you pre-cut studs and
really?
You didn't have kitchen cabinets that you ordered. You built them on site.
Wow.
And so he was a really great builder, and I grew up building with my dad, and I began to take drafting classes in high school, and that really kind of took, and I identified a lot with the built environment that I had been helping my father with, and these drafting drawings. Now, I never drew a house plan. I was, I can tell you a story. It's pretty funny.
I'd love to hear it.
I took 2 years of drafting, and the last marking period of the second year of drafting, Mr. Clack, my instructor, you had a choice of choosing an engineering assembly piece that had 7 different parts to it, and you had to draw and detail each part, and then you would draw this isometric assembly drawing of these 7 pieces going together, and it was a really cool looking drawing.
Uh-huh. And
then there was the other choice of drawing a house plan of a just simple 1-story 1040 ranch, style house, and as is true in the real world, there were about 30 of us in the class, and only 6 of us signed up for the architecture, and everybody else is doing the engineering tract.
Okay,
which is typical.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Clack looked at the sign-up sheets, and he was going to do lectures every other day to the 2 different groups, and he looked at the sign-up sheet, and he said, 5 of you, are going to do the architecture track. 1 of you needs to do the engineering piece because you don't have what it takes to be an architect.
Ooh.
Want to guess who that one was?
I'm guessing it was you.
It was me.
Oh, gee.
But here's the funny part. So I finished. So I did the engineering piece, did a nice job. Got a drafting job out of it, and went to college. Took my 10 licensing exams and became a licensed architect. Moved back from Detroit area. We'd lived in Detroit for about 6 years. I moved back to Owasso, and I got involved with the Shiawassee County Habitat for Humanity. Mm-hmm. And actually was president of the organization.
Very cool.
And Mr. Clack had since retired, and he volunteered on habitat projects. So if you've ever been a part of a habitat build project, we all kind of work together, and we all take a coffee break together, and we all sit around and tell stories. every time Mr. Clack was on that site and I was on that site, that story got told. And
very cool.
And he
very
absolutely loved it.
That's wonderful. And here you are now, president of an architecture firm. What a great story. And, thank you so much for your role in building our built environment here at LCC. Todd, this has been a wonderful conversation. I sure enjoy talking with you, and thanks for visiting with me.
It's my pleasure.
This episode of LCC Alumni Stories was recorded and engineered by Steve Robinson in the Michigan Room at LCC's downtown campus and produced virtually by Brock Elsasor from LCC's Digital Media, Audio, and Cinema program. The soundtrack is licensed to the college through DeWolf Music. Thanks for listening. Tune in to future episodes and learn more about what our alumni have been up to. If you're an LCC alum and want to share your story, send me an email at steve_robinson@lcc.edu. Until next time, keep learning. This has been LCC DMAC, Lansing Community College Digital Media, Audio, and Cinema.